Hey guys, Ajax22 here, and doing an inventory on that first Steampunk 1911 that we're going to be doing. I think this is the chunk of frame that we're going to be rebuilding. It's aluminum. Not exactly sure who made it back in the day, but says something about AR sales in El Monte. Anyway, not sure if we're going to use this one. I also might have access to some 80% that we can turn that may be easier than TIG welding the aluminum back on. Fabricating the aluminum block and then TIG welding it back on. Either way, these are eventually going to get completed. I just don't know if this is the best project for it. The internals are missing from the mainspring housing, so I'm going to need the detent from the bottom, the pin to, well, I might not actually need the pin. The former mad scientist guy who came up with this was actually using these brass rivets, and they work just fine, and they look really different when they're in there. So I may go with that. I think that might be a winning scenario for me. I may bypass the safety as well. Go original John Moses Browning design, keep it clean, just have a hammer, and then just when I fabricate the brass grips, just cover the holes in the rear. Have mixed feelings about that a little bit. If I can get more of these brass pins, I might just use those instead. They seem kind of cool. They may wear really fast, but this isn't going to be a gun that is shot a lot. It's got to work. I don't want it if it doesn't go bang, but we may make some cosmetic choices over function. If we wanted it functional, we just leave it to the original John Moses Browning designs. He did a very good job of that after all. Grip safety, this one will work. I think for this design, I'd actually like to get one of those extreme beaver tail safeties. Seems like it would be fitting. Don't know if I'm going to be able to track one of those down cheap and easy, but I'm going to be looking. Other components, safety, you know, if we're going to use it. We need the slide lock lever, and I have one of those, but the one I have I actually was practicing antiquing on, so it really isn't going to work for this gun. This isn't going to be an antique kind of gun. It's going to be, you know, Victorian kind of gun, not antique. So yeah, I need to get a little pin to hold the plunger in. Need to get a hammer of some kind. I have a hammer strut, and I think I may have a pin for the to hold the hammer strut into the hammer, but I'm not 100% on that. Need the little mainspring with the little fingers on it. Preferably one of the. I think they have a 4-finger one now, or a 5-finger. I forget, but they make one that works really well and is easy to install. Trigger, gonna need some kind of a trigger, maybe a brass trigger. That would look pretty spiffy. Have a magazine catch. I'm gonna need a magazine. I'm thinking if I'm gonna go the custom grip route, and I don't know if I'm gonna do it on this frame because that might be problematic, but I think it might be fun to actually mill out one of the sides of the frame. And then mill out the side of the magazine so you can actually see the rounds stacked in it, and then maybe actually engrave the brass plate with like the numbers of what round it is so you can like glance at it. It would just be cool, something to do, as long as we're getting crazy with it. You know, we'll have to get rid of the original mounting points for the grips, but if we're doing custom grips, there's nothing that says we couldn't put 2 bushings on the sides of each of these holes and then have a slot down the center. Wouldn't even have to go all the way down with the slot, but just right in that same kind of space. Could look really cool, actually. What else? Oh, yes. slide components. For this, definitely going to need an extractor, firing pin. I have a firing pin spring. I'm going to need the retaining plate, and that should be everything on these old Remington Rand slide. Yeah, I have to take the rear sight off that other gun, and got the barrel link pin. Gonna have to read up a tutorial on how to install that. If you guys know a good video, send me a link. It would be helpful. Believe it or not much of a 1911 guy. Just sort of wind up playing with them a lot because they're fun and they're amazing guns. I think that's everything on this one, unless I'm forgetting something painfully obvious. Which is entirely possible. Oh, captured recoil spring. If I use this frame, then I'm probably going to fabricate something entirely custom and wind up actually going to the front of this tube and drilling a hole in it, and then making a modern style captured recoil or guide rod system that goes back, and then whatever block is right here, I'll drill a hole into it, and then have the recoil spring set into that. And it'll have a little base. It'll be about the same width as the spring, or just a little bit bigger, maybe with some sort of a cone to like catch the spring and force it onto it. And then long rod comes out, and interfaces flush with that little hole, or comes out just a little past it. That way, it we can have this large area. Especially if I use the copper rod, you'd have this area between here with an exposed spring, which could look pretty cool. And if we're going to go that route, it might even be kind of fun to actually mill this tube a little farther, because this one's got this weird thing to bring it flush. We could actually mill this farther forward and have a longer exposed chunk of spring. And that could look pretty neat, especially if we had an insert that went into that came out the back, maybe with some turned, like a turned piece that looks a little cosmetic. Could look interesting. Could be fun. Could be real fun, actually, because we're going to have to get it to roughly the same length if we're going to use a standard spring and not have to get custom. Start making our own, because it does stick out a little bit farther than the other one. Although that might just be a chunk of solid brass. It's hard to say. This guy did a lot of weird things. So I would like to make it run using a standard 1911 spring. Custom springs are not something that I like to play with. I've had some real bad experiences over the past years with some projects. So yeah, brass grips, custom spring. It'll look pretty damn steampunk. Brass trigger, or brass trigger shoe. The some sort of extended beaver tail thing sticking off the back of that, and then or we could even leave it like this. It's mixed feelings. Love to hear you guys' thoughts on it, because this is one of those, I wasn't doing this from concept up. It's just sort of making something awesome with the parts that turned up. So, trying to figure out exactly what would look the best is going to be a little part of this whole project. Trying to figure out how to do right by her, how to make her, get the most out of this poor old Remington Rand. All right, that's where we're at with this one. I'm gonna start scrounging. Have a good one.